I am dumbfounded by the universe, and perhaps just dumb about God. They relate, profoundly so. Arguments for God and against God each call the universe as witness. Each argues that how the universe works counts as evidence for its position. God believers invoke the apparent fine-tuning of our universe because everything has to be seemingly so perfect to enable life to exist. God deniers retort that there are a vast number of universes so that anything can happen by accident, including us. Multiple universes undermine God, atheists claim, eliminating the need for a clever creator. Is this true? I'm Robert Lawrence Kuhn, and Closer to Truth is my journey to find out. Multiple universes are becoming, surprisingly, mainstream science. And theists, unsurprisingly, still defend the existence of God. That's why I start with Victor Stenger, a physicist and skeptic. God is history, Vic says. In the science-religion wars, he takes no prisoners. Vic is a leading atheist, so his views are no surprise. It's his arguments I'm after. Vic, the postulation of multiple universes, where our universe may not be the only one, there could be an infinite number of universes, have struck theologians hard. And they've starting to come up with a whole bunch of explanations about how God could be consistent with multiple universes. How do you view it?
Well, the multiple universe scenario, first of all, seems to be consistent with modern cosmology, seems to be even suggested by it. So I think people have to accept that. And the single universe is actually less parsimonious because you have to introduce some new principle to explain why we have only one universe. And of course, it's vast. Even our own universe is far vaster, according to modern cosmology, than we ever imagined. I mean, our visible universe is like a grain of sand in the Sahara Desert. The universe beyond our view is supposed to be something like 10 to the 100 times bigger than the... So you have this incredibly vast universe of our universe, and then you have all these other universes out there. How is it possible for there to be one God? Keep track of all that stuff. Be listening to every word, listening to every thought of every sentient creature on all of these planets. Did Jesus go to all these planets and die on the cross an infinite number of times? What a terrible life the Son of God would have. It makes the whole idea, at least traditional idea of God, which after all goes back to the musings of a small desert tribe, that it's hard to imagine any connection between that kind of God and what we have out there in the case of such a vast universe.
So theologians are aware of that. They had to readjust some thinking. Some say that there is multiple universes, but that expresses more the glory of God. Others says that if there are multiple universes, they had to be so finely tuned because you had to have a mechanism for making multiple universes, and that mechanism is even more fine-tuned than the one we have for one universe.
Of course, the multiple universe, from the theological context, help solve the fine-tuning problem, because it just means that every you have all possibilities occurring, and we just happen to have evolved in that universe that had the properties that we were tuned to. We're basically tuned to our universe, not the universe to tune to us. So it's hard to see how you can rescue theology with the best they can say is, well, we can still imagine a consistent God. God can still do whatever he wants, so I have a consistent God. But that God is certainly not a God that's singled out humanity and this one little point in space and time as special.
And with multiple universes, that point has shrunk almost infinitely more than whatever it is.
It's incredible how insignificant we are, and I think that's, if people are bothered by that, then I can understand that. But I think what you have to do is just realize this is the way the world is. This is where we stand in the universe.
If Vic harbors any doubts about God's non-existence, I couldn't find any. No chance for God with one universe, Vic says. Much, much less with multiple universes. I like that. I may equivocate, but I don't want experts to equivocate, even if they should. Strong positions force clarity, if not harmony. I suspect the theist response to be swift. But how sure? I'm not sure. I go for the top. I go to Oxford, England, to meet the leading proponent of argument-based theism, philosopher of the Christian religion, Richard Swinburne. As for the multi-universe attack on God, Richard is ready. Richard, the fine-tuning of the universe is something that is generally recognized today, and many scientists go from that to the concept of multiple universes in which, with an enormity, an infinite number of universes, one or a few universes would be able to produce such fine-tuning to produce human beings. That, to many scientists, eliminates God.
Yes, the argument is parallel to if you toss 1,000 coins 1,000,000 times, you're bound to get one of these coins in which there are a large number of heads in a row. And so fine-tuning might well happen if there are a large number of universes which are all have different laws of nature, and one of them is bound to be a bit like ours. That's
all capricious, all chance.
That's the way the argument goes. Now, why should we think there's any more than one universe? I have a slight feeling that the reason why some scientists think there are more than one universe is that they don't like to admit that this is the only universe, because if it did, it would provide rather a good argument for God. It may well turn out that there are good arguments for multiple universes, but it's now important to notice what the structure of such arguments would be. It would clearly have to be based on phenomena which we observe in our universe. And it would have to be the case that, as it were, there are certain phenomena which are best explained by supposing that such and such laws are the laws of nature, and that if you extrapolate backwards from the present state of the universe and these laws of nature, you come to a stage in the history where, as it were, the laws of nature are such that they bud off another universe in which things are a bit different. If you suppose there are totally different universes over there, you couldn't extrapolate from the laws which govern our universe to supposing that there were such universes. But that means that there are certain general laws which govern all the universes in the multi-universe. And it might be that they have the character such that they are bound to throw up a universe which is fine-tuned for life, although the others aren't. But then the question re-emerges at the next level. Why is our multi-universe, the one we belong to, such that it is fine-tuned in such a way as to throw up a universe fine-tuned for life, when it's logically possible there could have been innumerable other multi-universes? Why is there a multi-universe in which there's a universe fine-tuned for life, rather than a multi-universe in which there isn't a universe fine-tuned for life?
The answer would be is that all of the above. It's all there, or all could be there.
Well, I'm afraid that answer won't do, because there have to be certain general laws governing the evolution of universes. If we didn't think that, we wouldn't have any grounds for postulating any other universes.
I think you would need laws, but they don't necessarily have to be the same general laws. Maybe a series of universe has capricious laws.
But if it does, you could have no reason for believing in its existence. The only reason for believing in the existence of another universe must be because you have reason for believing that there are laws which throw up both our universe and the other universe. And therefore the re-emergent question is, why is there a multi-universe fine-tuned? Fine-tuned in the sense that it throws up a universe which is fine-tuned for life.
Right.
The question is exactly the same as the question before. Instead of the original question, why are we living in a universe fine-tuned for life?
Why are we living in a multi-universe?
Yes, why are we living in a multi-universe? And again, the question is the same sort of answer, because there are innumerable multi-universes which are not fine-tuned for life, and therefore it's very surprising. It's just one of the very small possibilities that we are living in this sort of universe, and it requires an explanation.
Richard remains unconvinced that more than one universe really exists. But even with multiple universes, he says, the same fine-tuning argument for God would hold. Because there are an infinite number of ways in which multiple universes would not generate life, he argues, therefore the fact that our multiple universe does generate life demands an explanation. Wait a microsecond. There are also an infinite number of ways for life to exist, even if it's a smaller infinity. Are we comparing infinities here? As much as I'd like God to exist, I'm coming to conclude that multiple universes, assuming they exist, would weaken the fine-tuning argument. Not according to Robin Collins, not at all. Robin is a young Christian philosopher trained in physics, and I hear he embraces multiple universes in his theology. Why does Robin think multiple universes support God's existence? And why does he think God created multiple universes? Robin, for a theist, does the new scientific idea of a multi-universe, many universes, destroy the power of the fine-tuning argument?
Definitely not. I mean, if you look at the multi-universe hypothesis, it looks like the multi-universe generator itself needs to be well designed to create even one life-sustaining universe. For example, it has to have just the right laws to first create the bubble universe, and then it has to have the right sort of laws to vary the constants from universe to universe. Further, the multiverse hypothesis does not count for the fine-tuning of the very laws of nature. That is, the laws of nature themselves have to be adjusted just right in order for life to occur. All it can do is vary the constants from universe to universe.
But if you only had one universe instead of multi-universes, wouldn't every argument you just gave me be stronger for the theist?
Yes, it would be. It would be slightly stronger. You would have the quantitative part of the fine-tuning argument. At least for the constants, you can see quantitatively, you can get some estimate of how fine-tuned they have to be. In the case of the universe generator itself, you just see it has to have the right sort of laws, but you can't measure quantitatively how fine-tuned those laws have to be, so it'd be slightly stronger.
And this universe generator is whatever the mechanisms are of physical laws that
produce the universes. For example, in the current inflationary scenario, you have to have Einstein's equation in order for the vacuum energy to create bubble universes. If you didn't have Einstein's equation, instead you had a law of nature was Newton's law of gravity, the vacuum energy would just create a gravitational field instead of a repulsive force, and you wouldn't get any bubble universes at all. You'd just get the whole system collapsing in on itself, and that would be it.
If you were an atheist, would you use the multi-universe hypothesis as your best argument to confirm your atheism?
No, I would not, because I think invoking a multi-universe does not really solve the design problem that it sets out to solve. For example, the universe generator version of the multiverse hypothesis, in which the universes are generated by some physical process, just kicks the problem of design up one level. On the other hand, theism can explain those sorts of things. If I were an atheist, I would go and just simply say that the fine-tuning does not need an explanation and pursue that line of argument.
And call it a brute fact.
Call it a brute fact. The universe just exists, and aren't we lucky?
Take it or leave it.
Right. I don't think the multiverse is a threat to theism at all. And in fact, as a theist, it makes a lot of sense to me that God would create the world or the universe via a multiverse.
Why?
Because as a theist, I'm committed to the infinite creativity of God. And so I think the multiverse just shows how enormous the creativity of God is. It's just like having a very old and vast universe shows the vastness and the eternality of God. So it would be manifested in God's creation.
Yes, but of the multiverse, of the vast number of universes, domains, quantum differentiations, or whatever, the vast number of them are lifeless and ugly.
But for an infinitely creative God who has unlimited resources, God doesn't have to be efficient. That's only for an engineer with limited resources. God's not like the engineer.
It sounds like that's kind of a spendthrift or wasteful.
If I had infinite number of resources, it doesn't really matter.
Why would you do something like that? Why would you expend so much space and matter and laws on things that just have no meaning and are ugly and have nobody even observing it?
Well, I wouldn't consider them ugly, but it would be an expression of my creativity.
To let all this chaos go so that one extraordinarily small fraction of this can develop embodied consciousness who could have a relationship with God.
That's one of the reasons. That might not be the only reason the universe exists. God might just take pleasure in the existence of
all this nonsense?
It's not nonsense. It's all this sort of planets, all this matter out there.
Even though only a minuscule part of that is efficient to create the sentient life that we are, that religion tells us is God's purpose.
Well, I wouldn't say they tells us one of God's purpose, but maybe not God's sole purpose. It's just like the purpose of the artist is not their sole purpose. One of their purposes might be for other people to enjoy the artwork.
Who's enjoying the other artwork of the other universes?
Maybe there could be angels, there could be other beings enjoying it, or God in God's self, just an expression of God's own creativity. Much like the artist could paint a picture and just have it in his own room.
So God does all of this, the vast number of universes, making all this chaos just for his own artistic enjoyment.
Well, it wouldn't be all just chaos. It's only chaos from our perspective. It's things that ultimately flow from a set of elegant laws. I think a multiverse, or I would expect it under theism, I would be very surprised if there was particularly just one reality, one universe, and that's all that God ever did, is create one universe and no other realities, whether they're other universes or whole other dimensions that we can't even conceive of. I don't know. But what I would be surprised if it was just us. That would just seem very contrary to an infinitely creative being that's all the being did.
At least Robin admits that the fine-tuning argument would be stronger if there were only one universe. He says slightly stronger. Sorry, Robin. I say much stronger. I don't like opposing you. Remember, I'm dying for God to exist. But that's precisely why I must be scrupulously sensitive. Wishful thinking is wonderful, as long as it's quarantined and doesn't infect proper thinking. That said, I respect Robin's big idea. If indeed there is an infinitely creative God, multiple universes, awesome and ineffable, should be expected, not rejected. Have we reached the frontier of science and theology? Gone as far as we can go? Is the nexus of multiple universes and God the pinnacle of our human capacity to search the ultimate? Can I pursue this further? Maybe further is my problem. Maybe I should dial it back a bit. Relax the grand ambition. Get some basics here. Okay, I'll try. I go to London to meet a physicist and a believer with a passion for explanations, Russell Stannard. I'll give Russell a clean shot at me.
I actually quite like the idea of a multiverse. And the reason for that is that there's no reason why God shouldn't have adopted that approach as the other one. After all, what we know about God, certainly if one believes in evolution, as I do, is that God's way of producing us individuals, us human beings, was to produce a whole plethora of different life forms. Chance taking part, random chance part of the process, and then natural selection selects out those with survival value. That's his approach for producing us. He knew that when he gets that going, somewhere, somehow, an intelligent creature is going to evolve, which is going to be able to relate to him, and is going to be the crowning glory of all this wonderful variety of life. So it seems to me very much in accord with that mindset of God that he should produce a whole plethora of different universes, all run on different lines. I'm sure he enjoys all these other universes, as they have their beauty in their own kind of way. He knows that somewhere there's going to be a universe or several universes which are, by chance, going to be suitable for life, and who have the extra bonus in those of having us.
That would seem highly rationalistic, justifying a continued belief in God when the evidence itself seems without any need for God.
Well, I don't see why. There's a false idea here that science is something which progresses, and theology is something that's stuck in the past. If you want to know about God, you open the Bible, and there you are, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. That's it, and nothing has changed. Nothing could be further from the truth. Theology advances just as much as science does.
You'd have to think God is awfully profligate to have these infinite number of universes with only one in a zillion creating life.
Well, God is profligate because, again, you've got to stop trying to put onto God our own human limitations. I am very worried about my economics. Now, how much money I've got in my wallet here, okay? God is not worried about that sort of thing. And just because we would like to do things, economically, doesn't mean to say God has to. Now, if I was God, being an Englishman, I would think, oh, the Big Bang is such a vulgar, huge, horrible. For me, I would like a rather discreet poof, Well, okay, but
along
that is
with
not.
tea.
That's not. Yes, quite. The fact that God goes about things in such a different way to the way I would go about it if I were God is for me a measure of his independence from me. He is not the sort of God I would have dreamt up from scratch.
So, do multiple universes undermine the existence of God? Is God now gone? Atheists contend that multiple universes explain the apparent fine-tuning of our universe without any supernatural intervention. Because with an infinite number of universes, everything not only can happen, everything must happen. Theists counter that the laws that generate multiple universes must also be fine-tuned. What's more, multiple universes express God's infinite creativity. How to judge between such clashing, contradictory positions? Here's my take. If multiple universes do exist, they would undermine traditional ways of thinking about God's existence. But they would also expand traditional ways of thinking about God's essence. So, points to both sides. And the winner is, I award 2 points to atheists, 1 to theists. A split decision in favor of the no God advocates. But only on points, not by knockout, and only if multiple universes really exist. Multiple universes may be the ultimate test for God. Whatever the results, they're closer to truth.
For complete interviews and for further information, please visit closertotruth.com.